science fans, and welcome to SHE-ensya's Corner. Here we kick back, relax, and talk about science events that are fun, exciting, or scary in the life of your resident Filipina scientist. And today, we're going on an adventure! Our adventure takes us to the waters of Anilao, Batangas, where we hope to accomplish two things. The first is to collect some crown-of-thorns starfish, and the second is for me to successfully complete my checkout dive so that I can become a certified open water scuba diver. Wait, why did we want to collect the crown-of-thorns starfish? Well, it's not a fun reason, but the crown-of-thorns starfish, they eat corals, and when there's too many of them in a particular place, they can actually destroy the coral reef. Now, there is very little known about the different physical features and genetics of this organism here in the Philippines. And so my master's student, Jovi, wants to study and document the different physical characteristics of the crown-of-thorns starfish here in the Philippines so that he can help contribute in the further understanding of this organism. Now back to scuba diving. I've been trying to get licensed as a scuba diver since last December 2021 because I wanted to explore more of the ocean and learn more about it. But you don't have to be a scientist in order to enjoy scuba diving. If you've ever dreamed of floating weightlessly like an astronaut, if you've ever been curious for lost objects like a treasure hunter, scuba diving can be an enjoyable activity and they can make these dreams come true. What are some of the things you have to think about before deciding if you want to learn to scuba dive? The first one is if you meet the physical requirements.
Woman physically fit, physically fit, physically fit.
People of all ages and sizes can actually safely learn how to dive. There are, however, a few medical conditions that you might want to get checked out. So lung problems such as a collapsed lung or asthma, ear equalization problems such as an ear infection, some allergies, and other medical conditions can actually be life-threatening underwater. And so, divers should carefully read and then honestly answer the diving medical questionnaire before beginning to dive. One of the most popular questions that people ask as a prerequisite to scuba diving is, am I the right age to start learning how to scuba dive? Well, I started learning how to scuba dive at 35 years old, while others have even started learning at an even later age. In the US, most organizations require children to be 12 years old before certification to make sure that they can follow the rules and principles in order to dive safely. Currently, no upper age limit for scuba diving exists. So you can be 18, 24, 36, 82, as long as you are excited, as long as you're physically in charge of your bodies, then you can go ahead and start the adventure of learning how to dive. Do you need to know how to swim before you start learning how to scuba dive? Well, the answer is not exactly. Some people actually learn how to swim while they're learning how to scuba dive. Before enrolling in a scuba course, prospective divers should be relatively comfortable in the water. As long as a diving student is not so terrified of the water that you are uncomfortable in the deep end of the swimming pool, you should be okay. But is it a good idea to learn how to scuba dive without knowing how to swim? My opinion is not so much. Scuba diving has its own risks, and swimming or being able to swim allows you to put yourself in a much safer position and also prevents you from endangering the team that you take with you underwater. So I think it is far more responsible for you to learn how to swim first before you start learning how to do scuba diving. Of course, scuba diving is not just any type of sport where you can just jump in the water and learn as you go. Once you've figured out your physical capabilities, the next thing to do is to enroll in a scuba diving course. Diving has some inherent risks, and these risks can be effectively managed when divers learn to check and use their gear properly and to follow safe diving guidelines. A wide variety of scuba diving courses are available for us here in the Philippines so that we can learn to dive safely and effectively. Most scuba diving centers also offer explore or try dives, where people can try out how to scuba dive in a controlled environment such as a pool or in shallow reefs to see if the experience is for them. Now, scuba diving is an equipment-dependent sport. You actually need a full set of well-fitting, well-maintained gear in order to be able to dive safely. So, do you need to buy all of these in order to start scuba diving? The answer is no. Most scuba diving courses include rental gear in the price of the course. So, it is not essential that a diver own a complete set of gear. In fact, many divers never purchase a full set of gear, but prefer to rent gear or purchase only personal items such as wetsuits, fins, and masks. Of course, over time, the more you dive, owning your own gear would have its own advantages. You would know how properly it was maintained, it fits you perfectly, you are aware of its wear and tear, and so you can be more in charge of your own safety. However, its disadvantages would include having bulky equipment with you when you travel to and from your dive destinations. So you have to balance out those advantages and disadvantages. In order to be licensed as a scuba diver, you have to be aware of both practical skills and the theory behind diving. All of these principles are taught to us by the instructors that we have, and we have to take these lessons seriously because they may be the difference between life or death. Now, after you've learned some of these theories, the next thing you do is to practice your skills. Learning to dive requires the mastery of skills such as clearing water from your scuba mask and your regulator, which is your breathing apparatus underwater. You'll also have to learn how to control your cramps, what to do if your mask gets ripped out of your face, and how to ask for air from your diving partner if suddenly your regulator or your breathing apparatus stops from working. So your certified scuba instructor will help you learn all of these techniques. And one of the things that you have to do before you get your license is to show your instructor that you've actually mastered all of these skills. And one last thing to remember, when you're learning something new, there are no stupid questions. So when you need to relearn some of the skills, ask away. If you are curious about how some equipment works, ask away. If you want to figure out the safest way to get from point A to point B, ask away. There are no stupid questions when you're trying to learn, as long as you're there to listen, to understand, and to appreciate how the different principles in scuba diving works. However, please take note that even though most people can learn to scuba dive, it doesn't mean that everyone should. So before you embark on this journey, please make sure to review your motivations as to why you want to learn how to scuba dive. Divers who want to learn because it seems like a risky, adrenaline-filled sport should reconsider. Because when you do it properly, recreational or even research scuba diving is about control, relaxation, and adventure, not about pushing yourself into survival situations. A person should also not take up scuba diving because you're being pressured by your friends, your family, or your partner. While those people may serve as inspiration for diving to be safe and enjoyable, a person needs to want to be underwater. And so the good news is, if you want to learn to scuba dive, there's a huge probability that you actually can. And once you've learned how to do it, then welcome to the 70% of the world that most people don't get to see. So thank you so much for joining us in today's video. I hope you were able to learn something cool about scuba diving. And if you want to check out some of our other videos about the ocean, please check out the videos that will pop up over here at the end of this one. Thank you so much, and see you around!